So thanks a lot for inviting me, Hillary, Renee. Glad to see you guys are still around. You're too. That's awesome. I'm glad to be back. I guess I want to talk today about the future of compassion clubs because it's kind of in a weird place right now. There's a new set of regulations that have come into effect, and they're sort of supposed to remove the old regulations. But as Chris was talking about, there was a court case out west that sort of put a damper on that, and we're holding up the old program from ending. Even though we think the old program sucks, we want to keep our rights to grow, so we're trying to hold on to a program we hate in order to, and then prevent us from moving to another program that's going to take away our grow and we hate even more. So it's kind of a weird situation that we've been thrown into. As Hillary was saying, I'm an elected member of the Halifax Compassion Club, and I want to remind everybody that a club is it's not just the spot you go to or the place where you pick up your weed, but it's actually the people. It's the association of the people. They're a like-minded group of people. We all have the same kind of stuff. Hempology 101 to me is a compassion club. You're a group of compassionate-minded people. That part of dispensing is a separate issue. There's many services a club provides besides dispensing cannabis. And our future, the Halifax Compassion Club's future of dispensing is up in the air. We're going to try to, as long as there's patients that have a need and it's not being filled by the government, we're going to try to fill that in. Who knows, maybe the government will pull their stuff together and, put out a good product of cannabis. I doubt it, but you never know. Maybe it's, there's unicorns somewhere too, right? I don't know. We can hope. But in the meantime, the government's been doing a really poor job of, offering cannabis to patients. It's low-grade cannabis. We call it low-grade because we know what high-grade looks like. The government wishes we didn't know what the high-grade cannabis looks like. They think that you should have 12% cannabis, probably a max, from their past distribution. That's what seemed to go out. They wanted to limit our consumption of THC to 12% in all of our packages. So quite often it would be mixed in with seeds, or not seed, but stem and leaf.
Bast and herd.
Yeah.
The fibers from cutting
right.
the stalks.
So they diluted it basically with the non-smokable parts of the plant. And so that's enough reason right there for a compassion club and a dispensary to exist. Because I don't know if anybody's smoked swag before. It sucks. Yeah, and it's really frustrating. And if you're sick, it's really frustrating. I'm the type of person that I can go about 3 days without smoking weed and function. But by 5 days, I'm bedridden. You totally don't want to know me on those days. So it's, having good weed is intrinsic to my well-being every day. And it is to a lot of people. And now that we have these programs come out, it's, people are like, well, everybody wants their weed, they just want to use it. But who over 30 or 40 doesn't have some kind of medical condition? Like, it's really quite, but, it's rare that somebody doesn't have something. And someone said to me once, well, they think that weed, those hippies, they think that weed can cure everything, right down to a, hangnail. Well, you know what? A little weed oil on a hangnail does help. Okay? And it does heal just about everything, with the exception of things that require inflammation response, like Legionnaire's disease or something like that. So, and it is true that a good percentage of Canadians are sick with some kind of condition. It may not be debilitating, and it may not be, it may not even be a chronic disease. Maybe it's something that comes and goes, and, but we should be able to medicate freely with something that's effective. And so the government sends you this swaggy weed, and I just looked at packaging from the new producers now, and that's also swaggy weed from one of them. So we got a package from Cannacon, and it's how they've prevented it from being a certain percentage is they cut it down early. So instead of letting the plant grow to its fruition, they cut it early so it has that 12 or 9% THC or whatever they're looking for, and then send it out to the patient. So that's enough reason, again, for a compassion club and a dispensary to exist. I don't know how long we're going to exist in that capacity. I don't know how brutal the police state is going to be. Chris has mentioned that I've been arrested and beaten by the police, and that's pretty much it's a pretty good deterrent. I'm going to tell you. being arrested and abused by the police department is a good deterrent, but we're going to keep trying to help patients as long as there's a need. I went to a meeting about 6 years ago with Health Canada. At that point, you know, I was pretty new to the program, a few years in, and they had invited the heads of compassion clubs across Canada to come in. And what we realize now, years later, is what they were doing was figuring out who we all were, who we represented, and how to get rid of us. And that was the goal of Health Canada. And they had told me at the end of the program, her name was Janine Ricochet or something, and she was the director of the program at the time. And she guaranteed me that there would be no grandfathering in of any GROW programs whatsoever. And when she asked me if I would be applying for, if our club would be applying for one of these new medical marijuana production licenses so that we could serve other Canadians, my answer was only if you force us to. Because we want patients to grow for themselves. Our goal of our club has always been to put ourselves out of business because everybody is happy and taken care of. You know, as long as there are patients out there who need to be educated or you know, aren't getting good medicine, then we serve a purpose. But ideally, you know, it would be great if everybody was getting that and we didn't serve a purpose. So I guess the club has a future in education primarily. And it's a problem, education, because, you know, we have problems all the way from not being able to recognize good weed from bad weed, and that's a big problem, because how are we going to know when we order from the new producers what weed to order? We can't look at it, we can't smell it, we can't taste it, we can't even see, we can't see it, we can't inspect it, but yet we have to choose one of the producers and then what strain we want from that producer. So this is another role where the club comes in handy, because we can show you how to discover mold, how to discover if the trichomes are fully developed or not, you know, to tell you whether you're getting ripped off or not. That's an important quality, because most sick people really are on a limited income. So, you know, not wasting your money when you're sick is probably pretty valuable to most people. I know it is to me, anyways. I'm kind of cheap, but well, it's a good value to have, or a good, you know, trait to have when you're purchasing cannabis, so you don't waste your money and you try to make it last as long as you can. And making it last long and saving money is something that we've been able to successfully do. Like, we teach patients that after you vaporize your cannabis, you can take that cannabis and put it into a capsule and eat it at bedtime. You don't have to decarboxylate it, because that's already happened in the volcano vaporizer or whatever that you're using. And so you're getting actually twice as much out of your cannabis, and it lasts longer. We show people how to make, you know, a bomb with what's left over in your vaporizers, or even save your roaches, you know, save your roaches. You know, put them in a capsule, you can eat them. There's no problem with these things. And because they're your roach, I don't know if everybody knows what decarboxylating is, but it's processing the cannabis. You heat it up a little bit, it removes a carbon molecule from the carboxyl group and converts the THC acid to THC and the CBD acid to CBD. And so you wouldn't really catch a buzz if you didn't do that. So I use a lot of, you know, pot culture terms like catching a buzz and swagging weed and stuff like that, because I think that pot culture has been important. It's got us to this point where it's important for us to still, you know, there's many people like me who still talk like old hippies and still are advancing in the medical science world, where we need to deal with medicine on a real level. So education is very important. And there's other things, like there's patients that have come to our club who wouldn't know how to roll a joint. And I watched an episode of Weed World where Buddy was trying to, you know, get a spiritual experience because he just retired, and he lit the bud from underneath, like a crack pipe or something, right? He didn't even know how to. So these are people, doctors are saying to the patient, yeah, here's a license, I signed it in paper, they send it away, they get a little package in the mail, and then they come to us and they go, what do we do with this? I don't know what to do with this. How do I make it into a tincture so I can, you know, put a few drops under my tongue? Or how do I, well, legally you can't. So now what do you do, right? And so I guess some of the things we even teach people to do is how to break the law without getting caught. That's the reality, because if a epileptic patient wants to consume a medicine under their tongue instead of smoking it, because some people with epilepsy can feel their seizures coming on, And they can, in that time, take a little dose, and under the tongue is very quick, right? And they can, subdue the seizure or sometimes stop it from happening altogether. And, making a tincture is illegal. So me showing somebody how to make a tincture is totally against the law. Then making the tincture and using it is against the law, or possessing it, sorry. Consuming cannabis isn't against the law. Possessing it is. How you consume it without possessing it is an issue. But, so, the future of dispensaries is kind of up in the air. We don't really know what's going to happen. For sure, the black market will always exist. Thank goodness, right? I don't see anybody shaking their head no.
Black market will only exist as long as cannabis remains on the Controlled Substances Act.
That's right. Yeah, and for sure our government knows that. They've accounted for all those things. And
black market has to keep it there.
I am so grateful for all the pot dealers I've known up until this point in my life. Really, really grateful. All the people that broke the law, and from the random guy that stood in the corner and sold me that gram of weed just at the right time, or to, my buddy who was always there for me down the street, and, I could depend on him every payday. Those are the people that got us, like the current cannabis activists, to this point. And so hopefully we can take it a little bit from the back alley, and move it into, Grand Parade or wherever, your local town square is. What? Mount Allison, yeah. Yeah, well, it's already here. But I just, so people wonder what's going to happen to the club in the future, and this type of thing happening here today is what's really important. It's important that, I don't care if there's 100 people or 20 people, everybody needs to just, pick up this enthusiasm and carry it out. Chris and I are known for, we can't go out into the public without somehow bringing up cannabis. We try purposefully to smoke joints in places where it's going to create a conversation. We try to encourage the little old lady who's, her hand is disfigured from rheumatoid arthritis, and I get to tell her, I take 2 cannabis pills every night, and I don't suffer from my rheumatoid arthritis as long as I'm taking those pills. And she'll be, I used to smoke it when I was a teenager, right? And what you'll find is a lot of seniors are coming out now. It's not your parents necessarily, but your parents' parents who are coming out, and they're like, what's going to happen to them? Somebody going to give them shit for smoking dope when they're younger? No. So now they're free now, right? They can say anything they want to. Lots of us have those older grandparents that have gotten a little wild in their old year. And it's happening everywhere. At the mall, the people, we just had a cancer patient come to us. I love this, last week. And they said to me, yeah, I'm going to take this medicine because my husband, he's been hanging out at the Sunnyside Mall in Bedford with the rest of the seniors, and they're doing like their mall walk and hanging out in the food court, and they're all talking about Rick Simpson and the Run for the Cure and how weed oil, has been curing cancer. So here I am on your doorstep. So this is I can't say that 20 years ago I would have said, yeah, senior citizens are going to make weed oil popular. But that's the reality of it. It's really, the majority of the people that come to us are cancer patients. They are seniors, and they're spreading the word. And here we thought it would be the universities and the youth, and it is to a certain point, but it's the sick people that are going to stand on the front lines. But they're, and use that wheelchair. Use those crutches, because they're visible. They're visible icons that make a statement about, we're not going to stand here and take this crap anymore. We're actually sick. It's for real. And just because we like our medicine, shouldn't be a reason to keep it from us or stop us from congregating or trying to help other people. So part of our defense in court, we were in court this morning. Part of our defense in court is that, what would you do to heal somebody? Like, how far would you go? Chris and I we're the type of people that we feel compelled to help people. I'm the worst for not being able to say no to people. Somebody says to me, comes up to me, and I know they're sick and they are obviously suffering. Can I buy a couple of grams of weed? No, man, you just take a couple. I feel horrible. I can't. I'm not gonna sell you the weed right now. I don't know if this guy's a cop, but here, take some weed, go home and call us later. But I can never say no to people.
If you have a half pound and a bloody $100 comes back, I don't know where the rest of it went.
Now you know.
Well, so that is a problem. He's right. I can't say no to people. So I'm probably not the best person to dispense cannabis. Because I just
From a
can't.
business standpoint.
Yeah, it is. From a business standpoint, I'm not. Because I can't say no to people. I think that if you suffer, the most important thing we can all know about cannabis is the lack of toxicity. Right? You can give it to your dogs and cats and children and they're not going to die. You might go to jail, or SPCA might call you an animal abuser or something, which is absolute bogus. Pot is good for animals too, and children. And I know it hurts people to see children smoking joints, but they should get. No, I'm just joking. I think that I have seen a video of a Coptic church, and this blonde 5-year-old girl with big dreads smoking a big nose full of weed, and it's the weirdest thing to look at. It's hard. It's like a freak show. You want to see it. Rewind that. I got to see that again. It's incredible because it's just so odd. But it's totally acceptable. It was their Sunday sacrament. They all smoked weed on Sundays. Everybody seemed happy. But the best thing is the kids they're using it for kids without seizures, to stop seizures, and kids with autism. We know adult children, people who are never mentally accelerated, but they're adults, and they go from violent to just calm, from a little cannabis. So, and they could eat it all day and smoke it all day and never die. And the worst is they might change their perspective or get a little scared because they weren't prepared. Because that's the worst that happens, is that there's a small percentage of people that are extremely sensitive to cannabis, and taking one little cannabis pill can be like a crazy acid trip to them. And it's kind of sad, and you giggled, and we all giggle. I don't know why we all giggle when we talk about cannabis overdoses. Cause
I said I wish.
Oh, yeah, see? But we all kind of go heat, but I think it's because we know it's non-toxic, that you're not going to die, and we all probably ate a little bit, and so we can kind of relate, eat a little too much at some time. I know I definitely ate too many brownies once. And, so, and then because I watch everybody laugh when you say it. And it's the weirdest little phenomenon, but I believe that is the effects of cannabis being non-toxic, and we really all know it right down to our soul. So, I won't keep you much longer, but I thank you for having this, convention, or I forgot what you call it, convention, yeah. And I'm glad Hempology 101 in New Brunswick is still around. I hope Nova Scotia picks up the same. And I can't tell you the value of just spreading the word and talking to people, because if there's 3 of you together and you're sharing a joint, you form a compassion club. Okay? The first compassion club was the Asian guy. I think he's probably an Asian fellow that passed the pipe with weed in it. That's the first, you know what I mean? That's the first club, and we need to continue those traditions. This is ridiculous that we've allowed people to, convince us that a plant needs to be under prohibition that's non-toxic. It's just ridiculous. So, thanks for having me.